All right, welcome to part two of the Customize Your Texting and Driving app screencast. And let's get right to it. I'm going to show another example of how you might customize this app. And specifically here, I'm going to show you how to create a drop down menu in Google Sheets that the user can interact with, and then also how to do some internal coding with an if statement or ifs statements so that we can do that. So here's the idea. The right now we have this set so that the user can input the velocity of the car in miles per hour, and then also the time of distraction and the time of reaction. But let's say the user, instead of having the user input a number, we'd like them to choose whether they think they have like an average time of distraction or a short time of distraction or a long time of distraction based on the data we collected in class. Okay, and actually, before we get too far, I made a mistake on the last one with this. My last attempt at this video. We need to make another version of this, and so this is the just like I described in the first video. Software engineers do this. Um, so click on version 2, click the down arrow. I should say hover over version 2, click the down arrow, and click duplicate, and then click the down arrow again on the new one, and let's rename this version 3. This way, any changes that we make don't mess up our original functional version. Okay, so explaining the idea a little bit more. In your class, just like in my classes, you probably did some sort of experiment to measure the average time of distraction in a texting and driving situation. And so this particular class, for example, measured 9 seconds. But you also probably had some way of measuring or measuring the range of values that were reasonable. So in this class, we are average value with the uncertainty, or a measured value with the uncertainty, was 9 plus or minus 4 seconds. So that means that on the upper end, the longest we might expect it would take would be about 13 seconds, 9 plus 4. And the lowest we would expect it to be would be 9 minus 4, about 5 seconds. So let's say instead of having the user input a number, we're going to ask the user to input or decide whether they think in the situation they're imagining, the texting and driving, the distraction would be a long or a short or like an average or a medium time of distraction. So here's how we're going to do that. I'm going to start by deleting the 9 that's there in cell C6, the time of distraction. And then would you go up to the top and select data, and then select data validation? It's a way of making the drop-down menu. And then now on this next window that pops up, instead of a list from a range, select the down arrow and select list of items. And then so these are going to be the names that we want in the drop-down menu. So I'm going to ask the person, let's go in order. How about short, comma, medium, comma, long? And then notice a couple things. I'm putting all of these words in all lowercase, no uppercase letters. And then also I'm not including any spaces in between. I'll explain those things a little bit later, but let's do it. Short, comma, medium, comma, long, no spaces, no uppercase. Okay, once you've done that, go ahead and click save. And then notice what happens now for our time of distraction is the person can now select short, medium, or long. Gotcha. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of the seconds in the column next to that. And what we need to do next in our app is program something so that our app is using the correct numbers depending on the input that the user put in. So let's add another row here, or don't add a row, but just type in the next row. I'm going to type time of distraction again. Time of distraction equals. And I'm going to use another color. Let's use, how about light blue? I'm just going to try, I'm trying to keep track of the things that we're adding. And this is more, you don't have to do this, but more for me communicating to you the things that we're doing that are new. And then we're going to do something in this cell, D7, for needed calculations. And here, what I'd like you to type, we're going to type the equal sign first. That's indicating to Google Sheets it's going to calculate something or do something. And then the type of programming language or statement we're going to use is called an if statement. It's IFS. And it says it returns a value depending on multiple logical expressions. Logical means true or false. Okay, I'm going to click that. So equals IFS parentheses. And then here we go. So basically, here's what I'd like to happen. I'm going to click on the cell that has the word long in it right now, but it's C6. And if that equals exactly long, so I got to put equals quotation mark long. If that equals long, and then end your quotation mark, comma, I wanted to output a distraction time of 13. And where that came from was 9 plus 4, plus our average plus the uncertainty. Okay, comma again. Now that's one if statement. This is why it's called ifs. There's multiple if statements. The next if statement is if C6 equals medium. So C6 equals quotation marks, medium, quotation marks, comma. Then I want it to output or use 9 seconds. So I'm going to go comma 9. And then comma one more time. And then our third if statement is if C6 equals short, comma, I want it to output 9 minus 4, so 5 seconds. And then we end the parentheses. Okay, so I'll just read this again real quick. It's equals IFS, open parentheses, C6 equals quotation marks long, comma 13, comma C6 equals quotation marks medium, comma 9, comma C6 equals quotation marks short, comma 5. Now, a couple notes about this and then end your parentheses. A couple notes about this. This is, notice that I told you earlier, I use all lowercase when I did the drop down menu and all lowercase here. It would still work if I wanted to do uppercase in it. What's important is I have to match what this says. So I just to make it easy on myself for remembering, I kept everything lowercase. If you wanted to capitalize long and medium and short, as long as the things that you type in quotation marks match exactly what you put in your drop down menu, then it would still work. The other thing is that if I had left a space anywhere, like if I did comma space long, then where it says equals long or equals medium, it might not recognize that text exactly as the exact same thing if there's supposed to be a space in there. So that's why we didn't use any spaces. Okay, let's click return. And then let's just check and kind of play around with this and see if this works. So for this drop-down menu where it says 13, notice if I go to the cell C6 that says long and I change it to short, my time of distraction changes to 5. Or if I change it to medium, the time of distraction changes to 9. Awesome. So that drop-down menu and the ifs statement, the multiple if statement is working. Okay, the last thing we got to do to update this is our distance while distraction. You'll notice it's now saying hashtag value or there's an error. And that's because it's not finding the time that it thought it was looking for. And so I'm going to just delete that one. We'll start that over. So click in that cell, type equals, and our equation for distance while distracted is the distance equals velocity times time. So we need to select the velocity, which is cell D5. It's the one that says 4.5. And then use an asterisk and multiply by the time of distraction, which is 9. And that's in cell D7. And then click enter and 40 meters. And so you'll notice now we have a couple different ways of changing, ways of changing our inputs to affect that. I could change the input to 20 miles per hour or 45 miles per hour, and you'll notice it's changing the distance traveled while distracted. I can also change the time of distraction, and you'll notice it changes the distance input as well. I don't plan to make a video to show this, but another way that you might customize your app is by customizing or changing the reaction time in the same way. You could have short, medium, long, and then based on the measurements that you in your class made, you could have 3 different values for reaction time that the user could choose. Okay, good job, and thanks for watching. And I hope these are giving you some ideas of ways that you might be able to customize your app in ways that I'm not even showing.